Good evening and welcome to the first public meeting for the New Mexico 475 Phase A Feasibility Study. We will begin our presentation shortly. Buenas noches. Bienvenidos al estudio de Nuevo México 475. Comenzaremos nuestra presentación en unos momentos.
We can go ahead and get started, Gabby.
Thank you. Si hay personas que necesitan traducción de esta presentación, por favor, háganos saber cuando acabemos la presentación y yo llamaré con ustedes y les doy la presentación en español. Esta presentación por este momento va a ser en inglés, pero no hay problema en traducir después de que la traducimos en inglés. Good evening and welcome to the first public meeting for the New Mexico 475 Phase A Feasibility Study. In just a few minutes, I'll share our agenda with you and I'll introduce you to our project team and the project itself. For now, let me call your attention to the top of your screen. While the presentation is going on, you will know where we are. We have the agenda up here at the top of the screen. And as we move along the presentation, there will be a red line that indicates where we are. So you'll be able to follow that way and know where we are. So now let me move on to the introductions. My name is Gabby Apodaca. I'm a project manager with Stantec, and we're a consultant to the New Mexico Department of Transportation. Our team includes from the New Mexico Department of Transportation, Sarah Anderson. She's the project development engineer. We also have Mr. Paul Brasher. He's the District 5 district engineer. And we also have Javier Martinez. He's the District 5 assistant district engineer. You have me for Stantec. I'm the project manager. And you also have Clay Coons, who's the professional traffic operations engineer. Our environmental consultant is Ecosphere. And for them, we have John Toshik, he's our NEPA specialist, and Andrea Santoro, our GIS specialist, GIS and project support. For Stantec, not listed here, we also have Dave Maxwell, and he is our principal. So just a bit of introduction to the project. The study's termini is from US 284, 285, which is this red corridor here that is also known as St. Francis Drive. Our corridor study begins here and goes all the way up to the Santa Fe ski basin. So you can see that corridor is highlighted in yellow. But for the purpose of this study, we are primarily going to focus on bicycle feasibility improvements on New Mexico 475 from Bishop's Lodge Road. If you look at the bottom left of the map here, I've got my cursor there. So it begins there up to the Santa Fe ski basin. And a little bit of history about this corridor. In 1934, the road was built to access Hyde Park, and it was named after Benjamin Talbot Hyde, who donated 350 acres to the state. The road was extended to the Santa Fe ski basin after its first chairlift was built with funding from the Sierras de Santa Fe group. And in the 1960s, New Mexico 475 was established as a state highway. And it included Paseo de Peralta, Bishop's Lodge Road, and Artist Road. I'm going to go back to the previous map and give you a little bit more information on that. In this map, you'll see that we have a Tier 1 and Tier 2 designation. So the New Mexico Department of Transportation prioritized the statewide bicycle network plan along New Mexico 475 as a Tier 1 from St. Francis Drive to the Sierra del Norte Cerros Colorados intersection. Now, a Tier 1 route is typically a high volume and or high speed roadway where additional separation between cyclists and motorists is desired. From that point, from the Sierra del Norte Cerros Colorados intersection to the Santa Fe ski basin, it is a Tier 2 route. And a Tier 2 routes have been identified as important bicycle connections, but facility improvement opportunities may be limited due to right-of-way constraints, environmental considerations, and/or challenging topography. In addition, the Santa Fe Metropolitan Planning Organization's Metropolitan Bicycle Master Plan shows New Mexico 475 as an existing route with on-road use and identifies widening for bicycle lanes where possible from Artist Road, which is in this section here, to Little Tesuque Creek, which is in this area here, as a Phase A priority. New Mexico 475 provides access to numerous hiking and off-road mountain biking trailheads along its course and is a route for the North Central Regional Transit District. This study is a response to these planning directives, current uses, and interest from Santa Fe's active bicycling community. Additionally, the city of Santa Fe is currently conducting a similar study on Bishop's Lodge Road. And we've done that history. So let me give you an overview of the corridor. We have, for the purposes of this study, broken up the corridor into 4 segments. The first segment, if you start over here on the left of your screen, we have Paseo de Peralta, that is segment number 1. Paseo de Peralta and Bishop's Lodge Road for a little portion. And then from Bishop's Lodge Road up Artist Road, that is segment number 2. It is the blue area on your map here. The red area on your map is segment number 3, and that's Artist Road to Hyde Park. And then the 4th segment is the green area, the dark green alignment, which is from Hyde Park to Santa Fe Ski Basin. So the entire corridor collectively is about 16 miles long. However, as I mentioned earlier, for the purposes of the study, we are focusing from the intersection of Bishop's Lodge Road all the way up to the Santa Fe Ski Basin. And you can see that as the area that is highlighted in yellow. Now for corridor ownership, the corridor, 53% of the corridor goes through U.S. Forest Service land, and 39% of the corridor goes through private and other ownership, and 8% of this corridor is on the Hyde Memorial State Park. Now, the road does have right-of-way, but it lies within those regions of land ownership. Corridor amenities that we do have the North Central Regional Transit District that has 8 bus stops on the way up the hill, and on the way down the hill, we do have 6 bus stops. The first 2 that are closer to the hill up on Santa Fe Ski Basin, those are not considered bus stops on the way down, but the remainder of those are, so we have 6 going down and 8 going up. Now for the study process, I'll turn it over to Mr. John Toshik, and he will give you more information on how this will move along.
Thank you, Gabby, and good evening, everybody. Again, I'm John Toshik with Ecosphere. The study is being conducted in accordance with the New Mexico Department of Transportation's location study procedures to comply with state and federal transportation planning and environmental regulations. This figure is an overview of the process. We are currently in Phase A, which is the initial evaluation of alternatives. Phase A is currently funded, and depending on the outcome, the study may continue to the Phase B, detailed evaluation of alternatives, Phase C, environmental documentation, Phase D, preliminary design, and then on to final design and construction. This next figure is a more detailed breakdown of Phase A. We have completed the initial identification of existing conditions and are here today to describe our findings and get your input. As we go forward, the study will define purpose and need, identify alternative improvements, and evaluate which alternatives are not feasible and those that merit further study. There will be another public information meeting and more stakeholder input to address the preliminary alternatives before we finish the Phase A report. The final Phase A report will document the analysis and public input, and if feasible, identify alternatives for further consideration in phases B, C, and D. Let me jump forward to the environmental process. on the next slide. Most state or federally funded transportation projects require compliance with the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA, which considers a wide range of environmental factors as shown on this slide. NEPA identifies relevant issues for consideration in decision making. We haven't done the environmental studies yet, but possible environmental considerations include land ownership, meaning the requirements of the Santa Fe National Forest and Hyde Park Memorial State Park, which are the major land managers in the corridor. Natural resources, the study area contains extensive, sensitive biological and water resources. Cultural resources, the area includes historic buildings, archaeological sites, and Native American traditional cultural properties. The study also presents opportunities to enhance multimodal and recreational use, which are important community factors. Now, Gabby is going to begin the discussion of existing conditions.
Thank you, John. So we'll begin with segment number 1, which is Paseo de Peralta and a portion of Bishop's Lodge Road. So on this portion, we have a posted speed limit of 25 to 35 miles per hour, a right-of-way that varies from 45 to 115 feet, and 1 or 2 through lanes in each direction with dedicated turn lanes. There is median in some places, and we also have curb and gutter, sidewalk, signal, and signalized intersection in areas. The street lighting is variable, and this portion is considered a Tier 1 route. So just to give you a visual of what we're looking at here, we have some pictures for you. Here you can see that we have set up some multimodal activity. We have sidewalk for pedestrians. However, we do not have any dedicated bike lanes. The right-of-way is wide. We don't have any shoulders here. And we also do have some drainage features over here on the left of your picture. And those are throughout this corridor, through this portion. We also have Bishop's Lodge Road, the small portion that we have on Bishop's Lodge. We have limited space here for bicyclists. We do have high pedestrian activity. We have the sidewalks here to accommodate that. We don't have shoulders, but we do have gutter pans with drainage features. Now we're still in the urban area on Artist Road, and that is this small section here. Here we have a posted speed limit of 25 to 45 miles per hour and a right-of-way of 50 to 90 feet. There is 1 through lane in each direction with dedicated turn lanes, and there is no median. Curb and gutter is partial through here, and by that I mean we sometimes have it on one side of the road, but not on the other. Sidewalks here are segmented in the residential areas, and there is 1 signalized intersection at Bishop's Lodge Road and Artist Road, but the remainder of this section does not have signalized intersections, and there is no street lighting. We do have some shoulder parking, and the lanes are shared vehicle and bicycle lanes. This too is considered a Tier 1 route. And a visual of that is Artist Road. As you can see here, the bicycles and the vehicles do share the lanes, and we do have many curb cuts. We do have shoulders here, as I mentioned earlier. Vehicles can park along here, and this does become a situation for bicyclists because they really should not be in these areas. As Artist Road becomes Hyde Park Road, we have shared lanes. You can see by the arrow that you'll see on the left side of your picture here. And we are seeing the partial curb and gutter on one side, and on the other side we have shoulders that are beginning to exhibit some erosion. Now for the existing conditions in the rural section. The rural section includes a portion of the Tier 1 bicycle road and the Tier 2 bicycle route. So in this section, we have a posted speed limit of 35 to 45 miles per hour. The right-of-way is not quite clearly defined, and there's various land ownership throughout. We have 1 through lane in each direction and no dedicated turn lanes. There is no median, and curb and gutter is partial in some areas. There is no sidewalk, signalized intersections, or street lighting in this portion. There is some parking pullouts along the way, and bicycle lanes are partial in some areas. And the bicycle route here does become a tier 2 at Sierra del Norte, Cerros Colorados. Now, to give you a better visual of that, we have, you can see here Hyde Park Road at Avenida Primera South. I'm sorry. We do have a wide right-of-way here and a dedicated bicycle lane on the south side. Between Camino del Este and Gonzalez Road, you begin to see some eroding shoulders here and some shared lanes here that bicycles and vehicles have to share. Now, let me also point out on the map to the left, as we go up the hill to the Santa Fe ski basin, you'll see that this asterisk is moving. That'll give you an idea of where along this route we are taking these pictures. So as you can see on the map on the left, we're moving up a little bit higher towards the mountain. And right now we are between Santa Fe Institute and Sierra del Norte Trailhead. You can see that there's a bicyclist here and a vehicle here. They're both trying to share the lane, and they both seem to be trying to stay away from each other. The bicyclist moves to the left side of your picture there, while the vehicle moves to the right. We are seeing some shoulders here that are exhibiting some erosion. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, they are sharing that lane. As we move on up the hill, we're a little bit past Tesuque Creek. We're between Little Tesuque Trailhead and Chamisa Trailhead. In this picture, you see that the shoulders are beginning to narrow, or there is no shoulders. We do have some slope runoff that is coming off the mountain. So on rainy days, you'll see some moisture coming off of this. We also have some hidden entrances. So vehicles or bicycles that come out of this area are going to be hard to spot, and they will also have a hard time seeing vehicles due to the vegetation, and that is just the nature of this corridor. So now, as you can see on the map to the left here, we are now past Hyde Memorial State Park. We're between Borrego Trailhead and the 4th Overlook. Here you'll see that we have some eroding shoulders, very minimal and eroding shoulders, and we do have some drainage features along the way, and we did also find some utilities along the edge of the road. And now between Borrego Trailhead and the 4th Overlook, again, you will see eroding shoulders. We have some slope runoff coming up from the right side of our picture here. We do have limited sight distance. As you can see on the map over here to the left, we are going to have a lot of curves going on now. So it's going to become a little bit more difficult on the roadway to provide sight distance. So that is going to be limited. And in this picture, we also have some guardrail. Between the 4th Overlook and Big Tesuque Campground, we have some of the same features of eroding shoulders, slope runoff, and limited sight distance. As you can see, we're getting higher in elevation by evidence of these aspens on the left. And right about now, if you're going up the hill, you're beginning to struggle a little bit. Between Aspen Vista Picnic Ground and the Vista Grande Overlook Observation Site, again, we have a steep slope. On this one, actually, we have a steep slope drop off on the left side of your picture. And we have eroding shoulders next to that and limited sight distance towards the middle of your picture as the vehicles and bicyclists are going to make a left turn or start veering to the left, to the right, I'm sorry. Now I'll turn it over to Clay Kuntz, and he will go over some of the traffic features of this corridor.
Thank you, Gabby. Good evening, everyone. Roadway safety is a very important part of the project development process, and in this project in particular as well. We collected the 5-year crash history for the corridor from 2015 through 2019 to determine the types of crashes that were occurring and the frequency of crashes that were occurring. On the left side of the screen, is the graph that shows the frequency of crashes. As you can see, from 2015, there were 33 crashes, and that amount went up in 2016 and 2017 to 49, and then dropped off again in 2018. And in year 2019, we were back up to 52 crashes during that period, during that year. The types of crashes that we classify the crashes by severity based off of what we call the CABCO system, and each the K crashes are fatal crashes, A crashes are serious injury crashes, and B crashes are non-serious injury, Class C are possible injury, and Class O are property damage only crashes. And so you can see there was 1 fatal crash, 2 serious injury crashes, 20 B crashes, and 147 property damage only crashes over the study period, the 5-year study period. This just shows a table of the crashes by year and by class. Shows a table. You can see over the 5-year period there were just over 200 reported crashes. And when I say reported crashes, these are the crashes that are actually reported to law enforcement. They do not. This does not account for crashes that are not reported to law enforcement. If, for example, an individual bicyclist that may fall and get up and continue on. The map at the right is an interactive map, and we'll leave you with the website on your own time. You can explore the interactive map that actually shows this is what we call a heat map, and it shows the concentration of where more crashes are occurring. You can see the yellow area in the urban portion where traffic is higher, more exposure, more crashes. And then as you can see, the other areas that are less dense, less crashes per area. And we can zoom, go ahead. The urban hotspots, when we are doing the crash analysis, we identify where the hotspots are, where the clusters are, and they primarily in the urban sections are concentrated around the key intersections. And as Gabby clicks on one of these, you can see on the right, there's more information about particular to the crashes, and actually they're geolocated, so they're placed where they actually occurred, and you can find information about the year, the number of people involved, the severity, the crash type, and so forth. Okay. All right, moving on to the rural areas. Similarly to the urban section, the hotspots are identified, and we're looking for high frequency, high crash locations where there's clusters. And as you can see here, the interactive map can identify exactly where the crashes occurred and more information relative to the particular crash, such as the crash type, severity, a number of individuals involved. The yellow areas are the areas where bicycle crashes occurred during this study period. I highlight the two locations. Again, those were the reported crashes to law enforcement during that period. The source of our data comes from the New Mexico DOT crash database, which is managed by the University of New Mexico Geospatial and Populations Department in the Traffic Research Unit. Okay. Similar to roadway safety, the amount of traffic, the amount of pedestrians, bicycles are very important to the process. We're doing a data collection program where we are collecting traffic data. We've collected traffic data in the fall of 2021 in October, and then did a second count during the winter of 2022 over the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend. And we will be collecting 2 more additional counts in the other 2 seasons, in the spring of 2022 and the summer of 2022. What we collected are a combination of what we call turning movement counts at the key intersections in the urban areas, in the urban area. to determine help us analyze the operations of the intersection, understand the delay to see if we can improve geometrics, or if we need geometrics or traffic signal timing adjustments and that kind of thing. We also collected what we call roadway tube counts, or the average daily traffic counts that you see placed throughout the town over time. And you can see the ADT range goes down as you go up the corridor from 16,900 on up to up the mountain. It drops off to 857. And the percentages that you see in the boxes on the right are the directional distribution, eastbound versus westbound traffic. And then you can see below that the bicycle counts ranged from 7 to 12 during that fall period. So, okay, right. Similarly, we also collected speed data on the corridor. We collected at 2 locations, one midway up the corridor, and then one in the upper section of the corridor. And the 2 boxes to the right show the 85th percentile speeds. 85th percentile is an engineering term which basically means that it's the value or the speed at which 85% of the traffic is going at or below. So in the middle section, you can see in the northbound direction, the 85th percentile speed was 45 miles per hour. And in the southbound direction, 47 miles per hour. And then similarly, in the upper section, both directions were 42 miles per hour. So, okay, with that, I will turn it back over to you, Gabby, to talk about the schedule.
Thank you, Clay. So our schedule as it looks right now, we started collecting and identifying existing conditions in October of last year. For the most part, we've concluded that in January of 2022 this year. We have been conducting virtual stakeholder and public meetings. We started in February, and now this is our public meeting. We will establish the purpose and need in April of this year, identify potential alternatives by May of 2022, evaluate those alternatives by July of 2022, conduct a second public meeting in September of 2022, and we are hoping to prepare the Phase A report by December of 2022. So now I'll hand it over to Andrea so she can let you know how we are going to how you can provide feedback.
Great, thanks, Gabby. So if you, let's see, Gabby, you scroll down a little bit further. Excellent. So from our main webpage and from this story map, we have a link to a survey which we put together. As John mentioned, this part of this process is to get your feedback, right? So we're hosting this meeting, and then also this questionnaire. It's a fairly extensive survey, and it has questions that allows you to provide feedback for how you use the corridor. Yes, Gabby has it up here. When you use the corridor, what your main destinations are. Also, maybe what types of improvements you might be interested in, if you have ideas, additional ideas for improvements. And there's an interactive map where you can place a point at your highest priority area as well, and tell us about what would be your concern at this particular point. So a lot of feedback. Also, if you go back to, let's see, back to the survey, and then also you'll find, or I'm sorry, the story. And then also you'll find on the main website, if you scroll down to the bottom, we have our contact information. So please fill out the survey. We've actually had loads of responses already. So if any of you here today have already filled out the survey, thank you. If you haven't, please do so. If you prefer, you can just email John Tashik. You can send us mail if you prefer to, just actually write something out. And if you have questions about the map or the survey, feel free to email me, Andrea. I put it together. I can help you through any concerns you might have. And I think that's it. So yeah, we really appreciate your time and your participation, and we really do want to hear from you. So thank you for that. And with that, I will turn it over to Paul Brasher. I believe Paul, if you're here to say a few words.
Actually, let me explain something a little bit more. I'm sorry to
Oh,
interrupt.
no, by all means.
I do want to show everyone the website. So please make note of this website. And if you go to that website, this is what you're going to see. And on this website, you can take the online survey. That's where you can access it. Visit the interactive map. And we will also include information on upcoming public meetings. And you can view this presentation. This is the story map for this presentation. So you'll have an opportunity to do that. And I think that before we go to Mr. Paul Brasher, District 5 District Engineer, we're going to take some questions from the public, and then he will address us at the end.
Yes, Gabby, this is Joey with Ecosphere, and we do have Edward Brown. Go ahead and explain I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, that's okay. So if you have a question, click the raise hand to ask a question, and click the question and answer button if you would rather just type your question in. And Joey will let me know when there's a question, whether it's a raised hand, and the Q&A button, we will try and get to those as well.
Yes, so Mr. Brown has asked some questions in the Q&A box, but he also has his hand up. Do you want to ask those verbally, or would you like for me to read those, Mr. Brown?
Go ahead and read them verbally.
Okay. So he has several questions. The first one is, have you considered Forest Service 102 as a bike path?
Forest Service 102 has not been considered in this study.
Okay, and then his next question is, from your introduction, you mentioned having contact with biking groups. What other groups were contacted? Hiking, skiing? Why wasn't the National Forest Service advised of this meeting?
I think I can answer that one, Joy. And Gabby, this is John Toshik. We did develop a contact list, and we contacted Bike Santa Fe, Santa Fe Seniors on Bikes, the Santa Fe Conservation Trust, their Trails Program Manager, New Mexico Bike Summit, the Santa Fe Fat Tire Society, Velo New Mexico, or Santa Fe Rattlers. I'm not sure what the difference is there, part of the same group. Bike ABQ in Albuquerque, the Taos Mountain Bike Association, and New Mexico Cycling. We also sent letters to all or a large percentage of the bike and ski shops in the city in Santa Fe. Of course, we contacted Ski Santa Fe, and we did invite the Forest Service, and we had a individual stakeholder meeting with them, as well as Hyde Memorial State Park.
Can I ask a question or? Hello?
Yes, go ahead and ask your question.
Okay.
May we have your name?
It's Mr.
Brown, Edward Brown. One of the things with the accidents, it would be nice if they broke it down by winter and other times, because 2 years ago, there was a big storm and we had like 6 or 7 accidents in Hyde Park. And so when you show it by the weather, it gives a different feel as to what's happening. Second of all, we hike and ski. None of our hiking groups were contacted about this. And I just by chance found out about the meeting last night and emailed about 50 people I know. I don't know how many of them actually were able to get on or not to listen to this, because we're concerned if if it's approved to go ahead and widen 475 up to the ski hill, the road is going to be closed for months. And that people who use the Pecos National Forest and who go up there and ski and stuff, that's going to create problems for us. And I really think you could look at 102 to pave a bike trail. And then it's pretty easy from where 102 gets to 475. It's pretty wide up to the ski hill. and you'd be able to have a, a way to get up to the ski hill. And the 102 is pretty shaded, which makes it nice to use in the summer, even if it's hot out. So,
Thank you for your comments, sir. I would like to point you to when you get onto the website, if you get to this portion of the presentation, you will
right,
be able to click on these dots here and it will give you information on when the accident may have occurred. Here it was
Okay.
in May of 2016.
yeah,
So
I see that.
if you click on these, you'll be able to get that information.
Right, but I think from your perspective, when you start throwing in the accidents that happen higher up on 475, it's usually due to the weather.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Brown, I'm glad you contacted those hiking groups. Now, we're somewhat at the beginning of the study. We've developed a public involvement plan or strategy. We've started to put together, you know, as best as possible, a stakeholder list, people we're going to comment, or people that we're going to communicate with and you know, notify. But we would like to add to that. And, you know, the plan is flexible. If you have a way of giving me the list of hiking groups,
Okay,
I would appreciate that. It's not, you know, when I search the web, sometimes it's hard to find everybody. And sometimes even when you do, it's hard to get a good contact email or address for them. So
okay. What's your email address?
it's JTAS, there it is, CHEK.
Wait, look.
Can you
Oh,
see that?
okay. I'll
Yeah.
just take a picture of it.
Yeah, I would be, yeah, I would be grateful if you'd send me, you know, the contacts that
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I've got about 4 groups that have quite a few people, and because, you know, we use that a lot. We ski, we hike, we go up snowshoeing, you know, and it's part of our lifestyle. And while we support having the bike trails and all, if it's going to shut down the road for a long time, that's going to be very inconvenient. That's why I suggested 102, and I spoke to the Park Service about that, and they said they would be interested to discuss it with you guys.
Thank you. We certainly
You're
do
welcome.
appreciate that.
I think you can find my email address and the website address in the chat.
You know, I think it's JTASCHEK.
Yeah, at Ecosphere.
Right, yeah. I'll get you something tomorrow after I get
Great.
back from skiing.
Appreciate it. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Okay, next, we had another question that was put into the chat. And it was a clarification on bike crashes. Do you mean bicycle crashes? This is from Philip Edmondson.
Yes, I can answer that. Yeah, the bicycle crashes were bicycle crashes.
And then let's see. Lynn Picard has her hand up. Would you like to go ahead and ask your question?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Lynn Pickard and I'm with the Santa Fe Seniors on Bikes. So I'm most concerned about bicycling, and I'm also concerned about myself as a driver running into bicyclists as I drive up that road to go hiking or skiing or snowshoeing or whatever. My main concern that I would like someone to answer is that it seems that you're doing the study between October and January, and then you are going to decide what to do or begin to decide what to do in April. And the Santa Fe Seniors on Bikes bike season runs from April to October. So you've picked the time that nobody or virtually nobody from our group, and indeed most bicyclists, don't use that road.
Yes, ma'am. We picked all 4 seasons, and we do realize that the fall and the winter seasons we were going to have a low count, but we do want to show that in the spring and the summer is the highest activity for bicyclists, and that's when I know there's some century rides and just some activities that are going on in the summer. So we're definitely going to try and target the times when we know there's going to be more activity. We still have 2 more counts to do.
I understand that, but it seems that you've put it on your schedule, established the purpose and need for April, which is before the time you're going to do the count.
I see what you mean now. The purpose and need will be established, but that is going to be dynamic. So if we need to change that, we can. Because
Okay,
the
thank you.
report, the report itself will not be really written until December or delivered until December.
Thanks. That answers my question.
Thank you, ma'am.
And then we have a written question from Justin Green. Will pedestrian amenities, sidewalks, off-road trails, trailhead and parking lot improvements be included in the planning?
If we go to the beginning of the, oh, I'm so sorry, this is doing that. The study itself is a feasibility study for bicyclists. So, you know, we'll try and include everything. And like I said, this study may evolve, and that will be determined later based on all the needs that we hear from everyone. So thank you for voicing that.
Gabby, this is Javier. If I could just add a little bit to that, but there are many stakeholders in here, which include the city of Santa Fe County, the National Forest, High Memorial State Park. And so we're coordinating with that. The main study, you know, that the DOT facility is New Mexico 475. So if they want to improve that, you know, as part of this project, they would have to start developing those plans as well. For it, and then also you know, get some funding. But yeah, we can coordinate our improvements with whatever improvements that they see fit as well.
And
Thank
we
you,
have-
Javier.
Thank you. And we have another question from Philip Edmondson. The data doesn't show many bikers using the corridor. How many more cyclists would use the corridor if improvements are made?
Clay, would you like to answer that question?
Yes, I can tackle that one. Yeah, if as we doing the study and identify the need, the existing counts, as we mentioned, we're going to be looking at the fall, the spring and summer. But you know, as we incorporate improvements, then you know, facilities that are, you know, more amenable to bicycles, and our study will look at that and project, you know, do other research and incorporate that into the process. But I don't have a number for which alternative could provide more bicycle amenities at this point, but we'll look at that.
And Daniel Alvarado has his hand up. If you would like to go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, hi. My name is Daniel Alvarado. I'm a senior planner with the city of Santa Fe. I'm also on the technical coordinating committee with the NPO, but I'm here tonight just as a private citizen. So just wanted to put that out there because I actually also happen to live right at the base of this road, right at the base of Hyde Park Road. And I'm a serious cyclist, multi-sport athlete. So all that to say, I'm really in support of this. I'm really excited about this project, and I hope to be involved on the professional side as well as a citizen. I guess my question is, I might have missed this. What would the tier 1 improvements look like in terms of protection? Are we talking about protected bollards or separated mixed shared use path? What are we looking at here there?
Well, a tier 1 is, you know, like I mentioned, it's typically for high volume and or high speed roadway, and where additional separation between the bicyclist and the motorist is desired. And again, that's a desire, but it's not always present. Doesn't mean it can't be or shouldn't be, but it's not always present.
Okay, so what you're saying is it's to be determined.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I would really love to see protected uphill lane to somewhere like 10,000 Waves or Hyde Park. I could really see people doing that'd be a great bike packing trip for a beginner or something like that. And it really would open up a lot of opportunities for multi-sport activities, and you don't have to bring your car out. And I love the idea of a bike path on Pacheco Canyon, but it's not in town. The real beauty of this is that it's in town. And also, just one last thing, as much as I love the idea of Hyde Park Road being a world-class cycling road, Paseo de Peralta is a real eyesore and problem. We live, again, right there, and it's a real pain to just walk to the grocery store, for instance, and bike to the grocery store. So I think really that is probably the most bang for your buck is improvements there. And I know that's something the NPO is working on. So yeah, look forward to seeing this progress.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Andy Otto has a written question, and it is, can you contact the Santa Fe Watershed Association?
John, I'll let you answer that question.
Yeah, we'll add them to the list. The area is a huge watershed for Tasiki Creek, and I'm sure their input would be valuable, and we'll add them to the list.
And another written comment, this is from Alan Curtis. The shoulders were paved at one time and have totally disintegrated. Many areas have plenty of space to repave those shoulders.
Let me get to one of those pictures. Well, here's one of them. There's several of them, and I can certainly appreciate your comment. And I know that the district is continuously trying to do maintenance in this area. And this study will help us get to those decisions and help the district to make those decisions.
Gabby,
Yes, sir.
excuse me, this is Paul Brasher. I'm the District 5 engineer. And let me mention that there are some shoulders, and some of them are, rather than shoulders, are more like edges. And we do maintenance on that road pretty regularly, pretty routinely. And one of the photographs, for example, you're showing right here is a drop inlet in kind of a precarious position with respect to rockfall and so forth. But I should mention that this summer we have a project to do some road rehabilitation, particularly up at the east end. There'll be several miles of road that we're going to be doing. So to all of those participating in the call, if you see some activity, some construction activity on the road this coming summer, that is not an outgrowth of this particular project right now. It's just maintenance that we're doing on the road. And we typically will rehabilitate the driving lanes. The shoulders, as you know, the widths are highly irregular. And we will repave as wide as we possibly can, and restripe as wide as we possibly can right now. But I just want to let everybody know that when they see construction out there this summer, it's just we're remedying some rough, particularly rough spots at the upper end of the road. Thank you, Gabby.
You're welcome. I would like to point out that, as you can see on this picture here, you have the eroding shoulder here, and then you have what seems to be another shoulder. This is just years of overlaying and trying to fix the road and just doing maintenance.
And then John Crenshaw has his hand up.
Thank you very much. My name is John Crenshaw. I'm a member and one of the founders of the Santa Fe Road Riders. Dates back to the late 90s here in Santa Fe. And I will be sure that it's contact information for our organization as well. I began cycling in Santa Fe in 1978 and finally began riding to the ski basin in the mid 80s, I believe it was. And so I've been up and down that many hundreds of times, literally. And certainly it's a great route. And I really do appreciate, as I've observed over the time, that bicyclists, when I first started, I felt were pretty much ignored or actually kind of considered a bit of nuisance. and to see this level of support and engineering and care going into this is really heartening to me. And I did want to mainly say, go for it. I am full support, and I'm sure the road riders will be too. And this is the road to use. And 102, the Pacheco Canyon Road, is a pretty good mountain biking road, but this is the one right here. And that's mainly the thing I wanted to say, but the safety is a big issue, and the comfort, you know, if you don't have to ride in the gravel to avoid a car is a big deal. And also, the state has invested quite a bit of money and time and is working hard to develop outdoor recreation in New Mexico, both as tourism and as just general health and well-being of its residents. And this fits very much into that program. And thank you very much for getting started. And I really hope this comes to fruition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And then we have a written question from Robert Swegel. Have there been any preliminary estimates of cost for this project? I believe the estimate of daily bicycle use was 7 to 12 per day. This sounds like a large subsidy for a small number of beneficiaries. Might the project be viewed more broadly as a road improvement project for all users?
Thank you for your question. And we do not at this point have estimates for the cost because we have not gone through the alternative selection that John had mentioned earlier in the study process, where we start doing the detailed evaluation of alternatives at this point. So we're not there yet. And yes, it doesn't seem like there's many users on this road, but we did take those counts in the fall and in the winter, and it's expected that bicyclists are not going to be on the road at that time, especially going up that hill. We certainly do expect those numbers to go up quite a bit in the spring and in the summer. I hope that answered your question.
And then Larry Stevens has a question, a written question as well. Will you present a schedule including the projected actual construction of the bike path?
Not at this point. I'm sorry, I should have stayed where we are. The construction will happen at this point. We're here right now, and we're going to go through this whole study. If the DOT identifies that we need to keep moving along the study, this process can take a while to get to the final design and construction, depending on how the DOT funds the project, if they have the funding for it. It's not a matter of when, it's a matter of seeking the funding for it.
And Mr. Harrington, Jim Harrington has his hand up. Go ahead. I think you just need to unmute yourself. Mr. Harrington.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, good. I don't know how much you heard of what I said. I somehow ended up getting put back on mute, but I ride Hyde Park about 150 times a year, usually to the 12 mile or just past Borrego, and a few times a year to the ski area. I happen to think it's a very safe road, and my concern about this project is that something could be done that might make it less safe. One of the reasons why it's a safe road, the others are, light traffic and very few intersections. But the third reason is that it has very wide traffic lanes. It has the widest traffic lanes, possibly with the exception of part of Highway 14, but Aside from that one exception, it has wider traffic lanes than any of the other roads around Santa Fe that are commonly ridden by bicyclists. The lanes, at least beyond 10,000 waves, are consistently 12 feet, and all the other roads, Old Santa Fe, Old Las Vegas, Bishop's Lodge, and Tonto Road, and so on, they're all 10 or 11 feet. And my concern about the proposal to install bike lanes is that it's difficult to see, given the constraints of the terrain up there, how you could install bike lanes without narrowing the traffic lane. It's hard to envision adding 4 feet on each side of the road and leave the traffic lane the way it is. So I'm concerned that you would end up narrowing the traffic lane, which would be fine. Which would be fine if the bike lanes were consistently clean and usable. But I very much doubt they would be. If anyone who's taken a look out Old Santa Fe Trail lately can see, what becomes of bike lanes once they're striped off from the car traffic, which is actually what does most of the sweeping. And so my concern would be that bike lanes would be installed, the traffic lane would be narrowed by a couple of feet, the bike lanes would become coated with debris and be unrideable to skinny tired road cyclists. And we would end up sharing a much narrower traffic lane with the car traffic. So that's where this shot here, that's probably a little less than 12 feet. I think you're looking at something just above Sierra del Norte there.
Yes,
Yeah.
between Santa Fe Institute and Sierra del Norte.
Right. That right there is about 11 foot something, but you can see that car is giving that bicyclist about 6 feet of clearance. And the good part about having wide lanes is they are shareable when necessary. And cars can be trusted to try and get around a cyclist, but what they won't do is wait until it's safe. So cars occasionally will cross the center line when they don't have a good sight distance for the oncoming traffic, and they may have to move back. And that can be done if the lane is 12 feet, the traffic lane. If it's less than that, that can be pretty tricky for both parties. So anyway, that's my concern for maintaining the wide lanes. And my concern about this project is that you probably would have to narrow those lanes to install bike lanes. And if the bike lanes weren't usable, which the ones on Old Santa Fe Trail are not, then all we've done is narrow the traffic lanes. And that's going to have a negative safety impact on bicyclists. So anyway, I understand we may not be talking about bike lanes all the way up, and there are lots of other problems in the way of them, but I just thought I'd mention that one. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Great comments and observations. Thank you.
And then we have another written question. This is from Stephen Newhall. The section through Nuns Corner gets significant gravel and rocks washed onto the roadway during rainstorms. Can fixing that be part of this project? As the director of the Santa Fe Hill Climb bike race, I have personally shoveled this area before the race.
We will certainly take that into consideration and look at it and discuss it with the DOT.
And another written question is from Justin Green. Is there any study for turn lanes and re-engineering, such as at Gonzales or Evergreen Lodge? Also, drainage into the adjacent neighborhoods around Artist Road.
We are not that far along on the study yet. We were just identifying all the existing conditions, but these are certainly comments that will help us evaluate further. We do appreciate that.
And then I think this might be a related question from Philip Edmondson. What is the plan for Artist Road? I assume this road can't be widened. This section already suffers from massive amounts of construction vehicles that pose physical and noise hazards for bikers, walkers, and drivers. Are there thoughts about diverting this traffic elsewhere to make this section safer?
Again, we will evaluate that as we move along in the study. And certainly these comments are very, very helpful to us.
And another written question from Alan Curtis. I live off of Hyde Park Road and personally ride this road with friends on average 3 times a week in summer. Your count seems low. Many times I've driven this road and seen more riders than your daily count represents in a single passing. Was your count done on a selected day or over a period of time?
I will let Clay Kuntz answer that question.
Yeah, they were done over a over a week's period of time in October, and then over the over the MLK Junior weekend was the second count. But yeah, I can get the specific day. I can get that information for you when it was counted. But we did a 12-hour count on the rural section, so it was over a 12-hour period one day. I don't remember which day of the week it was.
And Clay, this is Javier Martinez, and I just want to clarify, when you do the counts in the spring and the summer, are they also going to be for a week time?
We're going to be, we're going to select a week, and then, all of them we would try to do at the same time within that week. And we would do a 48-hour ADT count, the vehicle count, and then we would plan on collecting it over a 12-hour, the bicycles over a 12-hour period on one of those days is what the plan is. But we can obviously discuss that if we need to modify it.
And then a follow-up question on that. Weekend counts will be much higher than weekdays. That's from Stephen Newhall.
Yes, sir. And we are certainly trying to capture those high count days, which is one of the reasons why we did MLK weekend, hoping that, excuse me, there would be more cyclists up there. But, it is cold during MLK weekend, but we did need to do that winter count. And hopefully we can capture a busy time during the summer to show more, not just to show more of a bicyclist count, but to show how many bicyclists do use it. Even though it may not be on a daily basis, this is the most that we can capture on a weekend.
And those are all the written questions that we have right now. Kate Prusak has her hand up. Go ahead, Kate.
There we go. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, good, thanks. On the note of the count, I've been making notes, so I have more comments and questions. But on the count, I would say Jim Harrington might be the only guy riding up the Ski Basin Road on MLK. Plus, I personally like to avoid what I think would be the busy traffic days. So that would not be a day I would ride up, even if it wasn't in the middle of the winter. But also in October is nuts. Going up the Ski Basin Road. I used to ride up there in October because it was so pretty, but I don't do that anymore because it's bumper to bumper traffic. And frankly, there's nowhere to get away from the traffic. So in terms of what Alan Curtis had said about the shoulders, that's the easiest thing to do is repair the shoulders. I mean, they're horrible. And I can't get away from traffic. I don't like to ride out in the middle of the road. So I think your counts need to be done in the summer. October is, to my point, we're not riding up there in October. We're not riding up there in the winter. So I can ride and see, just on the little amount of time I'm riding, I can count, 15 riders in the summer. And that's just, in like 2 hours time. So, and I want to reiterate John Crenshaw's, Santa Fe has spent a lot of money trying to promote outdoor recreation, and there's a big disconnect between the city and the county and the state in terms of promoting that. And I think we're really missing the boat. This is something that people want to do when they come to Santa Fe. That's a bucket list item, is riding the ski basin road. In addition to those of us that would ride it. I mean, I live where I live, so I can do that every day, but I don't do it pretty much anymore because the road is so dangerous. I think it's dangerous. 102 is not an option. I mean, that's a mountain bike ride or a gravel ride. That's not a road ride. It's two different things. And there's not that much traffic on it, so that's not really an issue. So, I mean, I do ride that one too. I think any improvements would benefit all users, not just the cyclists. I'm reading through my notes here. But I think the simplest thing is just to improve the shoulders. I mean, they're there, they just need to be rideable. That's a quick and dirty fix.
Thank you. Certainly do appreciate those comments. Very good comments. Thank you.
And a written comment from Jackie Shane. I would ride Hyde Park Road more in the winter, but there is too much ski hill traffic and no shoulder. Having a true shoulder would be wonderful. Ditto to what Kate Prusak said.
Thank you.
And then we have Phyllis Bustamante. Her hand is up with a question.
Go ahead, Phyllis. You may be muted. We can't hear you.
Okay, she lowered her hand too.
Okay.
All right, then we still have, if Phyllis, if you would like to ask your question, go ahead and raise your hand again. Whoop. A couple of people just lowered their hands, but we have some people that are typing in some questions, and it's probably, this is from Edward Brown. The idea is to pave a bike trail on Forest Road 102. And then from Lynn Pickard, I would appreciate your choosing several days to count cyclists in the spring and summer and then average them. This would ensure that your study is statistically accurate and not subject to being an aberration on a particular day. And I would count on both weekdays and weekends. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment.
And those are all the written questions that we have right now. And we don't have any, whoop, maybe we do have a hand up somewhere. I don't see anyone with their hands up.
Okay. We'll give you a few more minutes or a minute to let us know if you want to make a comment or send a question. Okay, well, if we don't have any more comments or questions, go ahead, Joey.
Phyllis, did you want to ask your question? You're unmuted. Go ahead.
Sorry, that was an accident.
Okay. And then we just have another written question from or comment from Jackie Shane. Just want to say that user counts would be higher if there were true shoulders. So take the counts with a grain of salt.
Thank you.
And that is all we have right now. And I don't know if John had any emails that came in.
John, did you have any emails?
Yeah, let me take a quick look here. I don't think so. No, I don't. I don't have any emails that I've received during the meeting. There are a number of emails previously received. I could try and summarize those or read them if that's has any value here.
I think we're taking the emails for now.
Okay. I mean, those will be part of the record,
Yes.
previous emails.
Anybody else, Joey?
No, we don't have any open questions and no one has their hands raised.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. If you go to bed tonight and you think of a question that you wish you had asked, you can still visit our website. You can contact John Toshik. Here is his email address, and you can make your comments and ask your questions, and he will get back to you. Before we do sign off today, I'll let Paul Brasher give us a few words and his thoughts on this study. Paul?
Oh, thank you, Gabby. I'm Paul Brasher. I'm the District 5 engineer. And to conduct this study here, we assembled a team of some highly experienced and highly qualified professionals together with DOT staff to evaluate this corridor. And so the comments we get from the public are very important to us because, as you know, the people who have commented have mentioned things that they're good reminders for us to study and include, and they help us prioritize what improvements we are going to make to this road. I will tell you that one of the things I got out of this listening to the comments tonight is, I mean, we know the road is in rough condition as it is now. And as I mentioned a little while earlier, we're going to be rehabilitating the paving here, fixing the paving for a few miles, particularly at the east end. But there were interesting comments about the condition of the shoulders that I will I'll carry away from this here. But the results of the study are going to all be incorporated into the decision-making process regarding the future of the study and any eventual improvements that we undertake. So I want to thank everybody for their participation in this public and forthcoming public and private stakeholder meetings that we have. And we'll take everything that everybody has said into consideration as input into this project as it progresses. So thank you for being involved, and thank you for, I want to thank the consultants and my colleagues at DOT for being involved and staying with it. And if ultimately we'll all look back on what we do as something to have been, we're glad we were part of, and we can look back with satisfaction on seeing a job well done. So thank you, Gabby. I appreciate the opportunity. Back to you,
You're
Gabby.
welcome. Thank you. You're welcome. And with that, we conclude our presentation, and I will say that be safe out there and wear your helmets. Thank you.
Thanks.